After completing this lesson, you'll be able to place an attached canvas into the model and replace a face on the solid model. For this lesson, continue using the model from the previous lesson or open the F1 car, replace face Fusion Archive file using the new design from File tool. In this lesson, our primary goal is to add some curvature to the main body. So I'll want to make sure that the car body component is active, so that as I add features to it, they're contained in the car body component. Before we started modeling the car, some sketches were made of what the car should look like. Right now I'd like to use an attached canvas tool to bring one of those sketches in to use as a guideline. Under the Insert pull-down, I'll select Attached Canvas, and I'll click and hold over the YZ plane to be able to select it from the dialog as the face I'll place the canvas on. Next, I'll select the image, selecting the car concept JPEG file. Picking on the right face of the view cube, we can get a better view of what the sketch looks like. It's pretty small, but we can move it using the arrows or the plane and scale it in one direction, or as we want to maintain the aspect ratio, we'll scale it in two directions. I'll start to rough it in, but there are some other important options in the Attached Canvas dialog. The first is whether or not to display the canvas through the solid model. For what we need to do, it's critical that we can see the attached canvas. We can also flip the canvas, either selecting the icons in the dialog or on the screen. And we can change the overall opacity level of the canvas. Zooming back out, I can see the canvas is still too small. I'll make it a little larger and try to line up the front wheel with the center of the wing. The rear wheel needs to go in this space, so it still needs to be a little larger. We'll try that, and that's getting close. In fact, that's probably close enough. With that canvas, we should be able to capture this curvature that comes across the top of the body and the curvature that comes up from the bottom in the back. I'll click OK to accept the canvas and put it in place. If I expand the car body component, we can see there's now a Canvases folder. In the Canvases folder, we can switch off that individual canvas or all canvases. If we had a sketch or an image that we knew was a precise value, we could right-click and calibrate, selecting points on that image and setting the value between those points. For our lesson, we just have a conceptual sketch. So the next thing we need to do is create the curvature that will be at the top and the bottom of the body. To do that, I'll use a freeform body called a plane. To access those tools, we need to create a form. So in the Create panel, select Create Form. This will switch the toolbar to the Sculpt workspace, and we'll receive an indication that we're entering that sculpt environment. There are two different ways to apply the plane, either as a center rectangle or a two-point rectangle. A two-point rectangle will work best for us. I'll select the top view of the model and then select the top of the solid model for the location, then select the origin for the first point, and then rough in the location of the second point. This will create a four-faced freeform plane. We can use manipulators directly on the screen to increase the number of faces. Along the length of the body, we want 5 faces. Across the width, we could even go down to 1, but we'll leave it at 2 for now. Then click OK to create the plane. We'll restart the plane tool, roll around to the bottom, and select the bottom face near the back, creating another plane. In this case, leaving it 2 by 2 is just fine. Let's click OK. Now we have our 2 T-spline planes. To modify these, we'll use a tool that's one of the most commonly used tools in the Sculpt workspace, Edit Form. In the next lesson, we'll take a closer look at how some of these forms can be modified. But for now, I'll just start Edit Form and double-click the back edge in order to select the entire length. Now, take a look at the right view, and using the arrow, bring the curvature down to approximate the sketch. Start the Edit Form tool again. Get a quick view of the front edge and select it. And go back to the right face of the view cube, pulling this curvature down to more closely match the sketch. One last edit. We'll grab the back edge of the bottom plane and bring its curvature up. Even though it doesn't match the sketch, I kind of like this a little better. Something else we could do is use Edit Form on the middle edges if we really wanted to match the form a little more closely. Let's call that good. Now we'll click OK, and we have our planes in place, although they're not planes any longer. Let's select Finish Form to return back to the model workspace. In the model workspace, what we need to do is replace the flat, planar faces on the solid model with these new curved faces. To do that, we'll go under Modify and select Replace Face. When the Replace Face dialog opens, we can see that we need to select a source face or source faces, and then target faces. The first source face I'll choose is the top of the solid, and then we'll select the target face to be the top freeform body. Immediately, the top of the solid takes on the curvature of the freeform body. Start the tool again, reposition, select the bottom face on the side as well as the bottom face in the middle as the source faces, then set the target face as the bottom freeform body. When I select this, I get an error that tells me that the plane that I've selected is not going to transition smoothly into the bottom, so I need to make a modification. Thinking about how this component will be manufactured, chances are most of the center section will be machined away or not included because we'll be machining it from a foam block. So I'll come back to my source faces and deselect the center face. Immediately you can see the update has taken. I'll click OK, and now I can go to the Bodies folder under the car body component and turn off the two freeform bodies. Now the car body is ready to have the top section added to it.